Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dolapo from Tax TV.
My name is Dr. Mohammed Lawal from KADIRS, Kaduna Internal Revenue Service.
Lovely to have you here, sir. So, just give us an overview of what the event has been for you so far.
Well, it's a usual event that we hold every quarter of the year, so we do it 4 times a year across the three geopolitical zones of the state, Zone 1, 2, and 3. And today is the first day of Zone 2, where we usually will have 2 days because this is the metro, this is the big space where everybody is. And usually, we interact with our taxpayers to discuss burning issues around what is new, what is happening, and feedback that we get to help us do better with what we do in terms of service. And then we also discuss their obligations to, make their returns, pay their taxes, and comply as they are required to. But the general conversation is just to build that relationship that allow us to bond with our taxpayers, and we do this quite often.
Wow, that's wonderful, sir. One other question. I want you to, what is your what's your advice to the taxpayer? You spoke about responsibility, and I think you emphasized it 2 or 3 times in your discussion. What is your take on responsibility? What do you have to say to the average taxpayer in terms of responsibility?
Yeah, the whether we like it or not, the new tax law is here and it's here to stay, and it's something that we needed, for a very long time. But finally, we've come to a point where we can start the journey, and it is good to recognize that the journey starts in 2026. It will take another 3, 4, 5 years before we get to a place of comfort, before we can look at the laws again and see another set of reviews coming up. So the advice is simple. Be educated, find out, know your rights, know your responsibilities. The new tax law has come not to make life hard for the ordinary taxpayer. The president keeps saying, let the poor breed, tax the fruit, not the seed. And true to that, the law is a proper law. It's a law that is directed at growth for small businesses. So what is important is for us to know our rights, know our obligations in terms of getting our tax ID, making our filings at the end of the month, at the end of the year, or whenever it is necessary for us to file, and just keep doing what we need to do correctly based on the law, because the penalties in the law now are a lot harsher than they used to be. And the point is not really to penalize, but to deter people from, contravening the law. So it's really important that we know so that we don't fall in a situation where we'll be penalized. Now, the other thing about responsibility is this. Being responsible is knowing what we need to do and doing it at the right time, at the right place. We say compliance is paying the right amount to the right tax authority at the right time, at the right place that you need to pay. So responsibility on the side of the citizens is to know your right to, comply correctly, and then you can hold government to account for what you expect to see in return for the taxes that you pay. Because on our side as tax authorities, we say tax is not a quid pro quo thing. So you do not say, I give you taxes and you must give me. No. You just pay your taxes, but there are other aspects of the government or arms of the government that are responsible to provide certain services that you can hold to account. So for me, this is the conversation that we've had today around responsibility. And if you note, that directly speaks back to the question of social contracts, because that is what it really talks about, right? The social contract is you pay your taxes as a citizen, those are your obligations, and the government provides you with services. That is an obligation of the government, and where the government doesn't, then you have a right, to demand for such services, because that is what the social contract is.
Thank you very much, sir. One last question. In terms of what do we say this? I'm trying to find the best word for it. In terms of you, what do you think are the concerns of the state IRS service? What are your concerns? It's been 4 months so far into the new law. What are the concerns you seem to be noticing and that you think the citizens can help the IRS address?
Yeah, our concerns are generally the concerns of the citizens. That's the truth, because we are here for the citizens as a service provider. But the thing that has been of major concern to us is the misinformation that has gone round. Prior to the commencement of the implementation of the law, we've had so much that we know is incorrect. And the pace at which, for instance, social media is running off with these narratives that are not correct is at a pace where it is hard to keep up with, right? And we, as a tax authority, we organize such events just to dispel this sort of misinformation. And it's indeed troubling to know that people were really concerned to the point where at a point people felt there was going to be some level of breakdown of law and order. Now, 4 months into this, we've realized, oops, the banks will not, or the tax authority will not just put hands into your bank account and take money. That was something that was very rife. People were apprehensive about it. I've not seen anybody who money has been taken out of their account in the name of taxes yet. So I think the realities are beginning to show, and the nerves are coming down a bit, but there are still major concerns around misinformation out there that we have to deal with. The other concern is the alternative of misinformation, which is actual education now, because it is where you have a vacuum of education that misinformation thrives. So we are concerned about what it requires for us, not just us and our partners, to really go out there and put out the right narratives. And stakeholders engagement events like this are part of that process. But one thing we see, and I said it on the panel, even if we were to invest the entire sums that have been budgeted for the service for the year on taxpayer engagement, sensitization and education, it will still not be enough. And we must accept that taxation is not a cost revenue activity, it's actually an investment revenue activity. The more you spend in educating the taxpayers, the better compliance you get. The more you spend in, say, enforcement, the better compliance you get. The more you spend in improving the technology for people to comply and making it easy for them, the more you get in compliance. So it's every cost that goes into tax administration for us is an investment rather than a cost. And it's also of concern that that investment that is required is quite huge, that we all need to do so much from different sides. So it's easy. We call on other institutions of government that are responsible to come in and support the drive towards properly educating the public and sensitizing them on the new tax law.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time.